Let me first start by offering our deepest condolences to the family, friends, and colleagues of the Canadian Forces member killed this morning in Ottawa. Please know that our thoughts and prayers are with the family at this very difficult time. Second, I want you to know that our members will remain vigilant in light of what's happening in Ottawa. However, the threat to Canada and its frontline members is not new. We've known for some time now that nowhere in the world is immune, and this has just proven that Canada is no exception. I want to reassure you that the police service is in daily contact with our partner agencies to assess and respond to any and all threats. I know there are lots of questions and anxiety around what's happened and whether it could happen here, and I would be pleased to answer any questions that you may have.
Chief, how many of these 90 individuals that we've heard so much about on this list are present in Calgary, and how much does the force know about them?
Well, first of all, the responsibility for investigating any national terrorism file belongs to the RCMP and CSIS. We're connected with the RCMP and CSIS both. We're part of the integrated national security enforcement team that exists in Calgary. We have a police presence there. So we communicate with them virtually on a daily basis. The exact numbers and what's being done is a question that should be put to the RCMP. Suffice to say that we have an excellent relationship with both agencies, and we work very collaboratively with them.
Are you getting the information on these people, who these people are from, the RCMP?
Well, first of all, are we getting information about who these people are from our partners? Yes, we do get that information. But let's be very open and honest here. One thing I've learned in policing in almost 40 years is there's a lot you don't know. We would be foolish to think that any person that is involved in any kind of activities that are outside the law, whether it's gang related or whether it's terrorism related or whether it's someone who's being radicalized and who's adopting a lifestyle or an ideology that espouses violence as its primary aim, we'd be foolish to think that we know all of those people who are involved in this city or any other city. So in answer to your question, do we have great communication with our federal partners? We sure do. Will I ever stand up here and pretend that we know everything that's going on in this city relative to any crime activity, including this? Absolutely, I would never do that, because there will always be the unknown.
Are city police doing anything differently given the events of the last couple of days?
I believe it was about 8 or 9 years ago that Al-Qaeda identified Canada as one of the 5 primary countries that they intended to attack. As recently as the last few weeks, ISIL has also made it abundantly clear that Canada is on top of their list. We have been very much aware of that for years. We have been very much aware that this is an added element that exists in Canada. So are we surprised that this event today happened in Ottawa? Not at all surprised. The reality is, if we're surprised to say that an act like that happened, where that could have, and I will stress could have, terrorism implications, we'd be pretty foolish to stand up here and express surprise when it's been so overtly stated for so many years that Canada's a target.
In response to what happened out east, though, is the Calgary Police Service doing anything security-wise in this city?
At this point in time, we're meeting with our partners. There's agencies in town that are concerned about the elevation of risk. There's a number of things that we have to be aware of. Number one is this part of any kind of coordinated plan? And at this point in time, there's absolutely no indication of that. Number two, one of the biggest risks that exist is copycat activities. Right now this week, there's been 2 very high-profile incidents that occurred. We know from events that have occurred elsewhere in this country at various times and across the world is that you have to be fearful of copycat events. So are we aware of that? Are we communicating that? Are we more vigilant to that risk at this particular point in time? Absolutely we are. But not because we have been unaware of the risk to Calgary or to Alberta or to Canada, but because when you see these kind of events happen in close proximity to each other, there is the increased risk is about the copycat activity, someone who takes this as an opportunity to elevate their own status by committing an act that he knows will get national and international attention.
Chief, are you concerned about Calgary?
I'm concerned about Calgary every day.
Any chance that the
shooter is from Calgary?
I can tell you that at this point in time, the Ottawa Police Service is the lead agency in regard to this investigation. I can also assure you that we are working to determine any and all potential links that could lead to Calgary or could involve Calgary. It's an ongoing investigation where Ottawa has taken the lead on it, obviously, but certainly we'll be looking at any links to Calgary.
Calgary has been described as a hotbed for foreign fighters. Are we at more risk here than, say, other cities in Canada?
And again, I would say that Calgary's at no higher level of risk than any other major city in this country. I think that what has happened is that we are very much aware, because of a number of reasons, a number of suicides that have, or pardon me, a number of events that occurred in the national media involving people from Calgary. It's put the spotlight on Calgary, but I wouldn't say that Calgary's at any higher level of risk than many of the major cities in this country.
Just that we know about them. Maybe.
Well, some of them we know about. That's exactly right.
Do you think police forces should have some, more leeway than they do now? And I know it's getting into a pretty sensitive, tricky area, but are you satisfied with the powers that police forces now have in this tracking and maybe heading off these kinds of things?
Yeah, you know what? You've got to look at the bigger picture of the authorities of police officers. And what you're seeing and what you have seen is, and it's not news to you that are in the media, certain court decisions that have very much reduced the authorities of police officers to do certain things. When it comes to national counterterrorism and national terrorism strategies and the laws around that, the Calgary Police Service is not the agency of primary jurisdiction. That remains the RCMP. It remains the purview of CSIS, and any concerns about the legislation governing their activities would have to come from them. What I can assure you is that we are working closely with them, and I'm very much satisfied that the communication we're getting from them is useful in the way that we police this city, and we have a great working relationship.
Chief, are you worried about any kind of retaliation against the Muslim community?
That's a concern that we've talked about. I think, again, we'd have to be foolishly naive to think that others won't look at this and potentially say that there may be some kind of retribution. We are in close contact with that community at all times. We're talking to them. We've got a relationship that dates back years with that community. We've worked with them as recently as just early September on a conference in regard to radicalized youth. So we're concerned and aware, and we will continue to work with them to reassure them that we're there for them as well. The reality is, like most Canadians in this country, if it's got a reputation, it's for being a peace-loving, law-abiding country. And I know that there will always be those that are attracted by criminal activities. And make no mistake about it, by the way, the act that was committed today is first and foremost a murder. The motivation for that, which will be identified by the agency of jurisdiction doing the investigation, really doesn't matter, except for how the investigation goes. So I think that the vast majority of people will not look to the Muslim community or the Islamic community and feel in any way, shape, or form that they're responsible, because every community has those in it that are not law-abiding. So that's why we're in business as a police service.
Can you
As far
talk
as
about
general
the police
protocols
presence
go-
outside the PMO's office here in Calgary?
Again, that's just due diligence. You know, you just had an attack on Parliament Hill. It'd be foolish to assume that the focus may not have been something to do with the Prime Minister. He's got an office in town. Obviously, we're going to have a presence there until information shows that it's unnecessary.
And but as far as other things that have been, that you are doing as a result of this, any changes in protocol, has anything been heightened?
Well, see, you're assuming that this event today was unexpected, and then suddenly we're all going to wake up and go, oh my gosh, look what's happening in Canada. We've been aware of this risk for a long time. Our officers are out there alert every day for these types of things. We rely on our relationship with the RCMP and CSIS to communicate those risks. So although this may be a wake-up call for some Canadians, the reality is We have been aware of this risk for some time, and we're operating at a level that recognizes that this risk exists. Are we doing anything different other than what I've related? You know, communicating with some of the organizations in town that are concerned about the events they've got planned? Sure, we're going to work with them more closely, primarily in regard to the risk around copycat events. But I don't want people to leave here thinking, oh my gosh, you know, we just woke up to this. This has been a reality for years, and we have been blessed in this country. There's been great investigations that have interceded at the appropriate time and prevented the events from happening. But going back as far as the late 1980s, when you look at the Air India disaster, biggest terrorist act involving Canada in Canada's history. You look at the warnings that have come through Al-Qaeda and through ISIL. That's not new. So we are operating in an environment as a police agency, especially a municipal police agency, that is very much alert to the new reality. And so I'm not going to stand up here and say, oh my gosh, we've just woken up to this and we're doing all kinds of stuff, other than communicating to our officers what we know, what they should be alert to, what information we have as it relates to this event. We are just carrying on with a firmly held belief that it's our responsibility to do everything we can every day to make Calgarians safe.
You've been preparing for this.
I got to tell you something. We were prepared yesterday, we're prepared today, and we'll be prepared tomorrow.
Are the recent events adding any urgency to implement and expand the radicalization youth programs?
Well, again, it certainly seems like, number one, we've got great intervention programs in Calgary, where it's necessary to create more opportunities is in the intervention when it's young adults that are being recruited or marginalized. Are we working on strategies around that? Absolutely we are. Are we satisfied with our strategies targeting youth and intervening with youth? I think we've probably got the best programs that exist anywhere in this country. But in that gap, in those areas where you've got young men who are looking for a cause, or looking for a reason, they're looking for something that gives them a purpose, those will always be the highest level of risk. And what we have to do is reach out to the community in a way that families and friends and community people can call us when they feel that someone's at risk, and be able to feel confident that the response they're going to get is going to be one that will support them and work to help that family, those friends, or those people somehow influence the party they're concerned about to get them out of the environment they're in that could be radicalizing them.
Are Calgary Police informed when they raise the threat level? Like they did
Oh yeah,
last week?
yeah, the threat level. Last Thursday, I believe it was, there was a national conference call that was made by the Commissioner of the RCMP where the threat level was raised to medium. Yeah, we were kept in the loop.
Should the public be informed when they do that?
That's obviously a call that's made by the PMO.
How worried should Calgarians be right now? I mean, if we're talking about how we're aware of this, that this can happen.
Well, and again, it gets to your point that there's been conversation about this in, surrounding Calgary for weeks and months now. There's been those threats that have been made for months and years now. So do I think the average Calgarian today should be any more concerned than they were a week or a month ago? I don't think so. But you know, I know what's going to happen. I know that because it happened in Ottawa, because it happened in Parliament Hill, because it happened twice this week, people are going to be rightfully concerned. But the only thing that I can do is assure them that this is not something that came out of the blue for policing in Canada. It's just not. It's an unfortunate reality of the world today.
Any advice for regular Calgarians?
I guess the only advice I would give is to forever be, and we've given this message for a long time, it's important to be vigilant. You know, it's important to be aware that the environment in this world has changed, you know, and Canada is no longer immune to these types of actions or these types of activities or being targeted. So any advice that I would give to Calgarians would be the average Calgarian really should only be vigilant and alert to, as they should be every day, to anything that they see as being hugely suspicious, or suspicious within their community, or suspicious in regard to what they see. And even saying that, we're always worried that this will then lead to people calling in all kinds of complaints that then draw down on resources so that you actually miss the real call that may come in where somebody's concerned. But I can assure you that, number one, the oil companies in this town have incredibly good security operations. They've got excellent people, and we've got excellent relationships with them. The relationship we have with the Flame Sporting Organization, because they're the biggest organization in town for drawing people together. We work with them regularly. I talked to Ken King this afternoon. We had a very good conversation about what we know, what we don't know, what should we do to prepare. And I can assure people that first and foremost that we consider with our partners, whether it's the Flames and the Stampeders or whether it's the oil companies in town or anybody else, is making sure that information is shared, that proper preparation is there, and we do the best we can to make Calgarians safe. And having said that, events like today happen. Events like what happened in Moncton a few months ago happen. Events happened in Merthorpe a few years ago. I mean, there is always the risk that things will happen where a person, for whatever motivation, assumes that the answer to his motivation is to kill innocent people. It's what unfortunately has kept us in business for a whole long time, and it's going to keep us in business for a lot longer. But the average Calgarian should be confident that the policing agencies in Canada, and particularly in this city, are still committed and will remain committed to providing the best security they can in this environment.
Has the Calgary Police Service been in contact with any foreign fighters who may have returned?
No.
Okay, any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.